Today's voiceover talent is more than just a pretty voice. Today's voiceover talent has to be a boss, a VO boss. Set yourself up with business owner strategies and success with your host, Anne Ganguzza, along with some of the strongest voices in our industry. Rock your business like a boss, a VO boss.
Welcome, everybody, to the B.O.S. podcast. I'm Anne Ganguzza, along with my lovely co-host, Gabby Nistico. Hey, Gabby.
Hi.
Gabby, I am so excited to have a special guest with us today who has been in the business for 23 years and is an amazing booth director, coach, director from Southern California, Everett Oliver. Everett, it is so nice to have you with us today on the show.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Anne and Gabby, for having me.
I'm super excited, Everett, because you are so well known in the business and been a booth director for a long time and have now branched out in your own business, myboothdirector.com. And the transition, I think, is just amazing to watch what you've been doing over the past year. And I'd love for you to share that with our listeners because you are a VO boss.
Great. Well, I decided to, leave the talent agency world. I did it for 5 years, and I wanted to do something unique and something different. So I had to come up with something unique and different as far as all the other voiceover coaches. So I decided, well, let me travel across the country and set up tours. So last year I went to, Dallas, Newark, New York, and Denver. And during those tours, I taught like a 2-day animation workshop. I felt like putting myself out there in front of everybody would, my personality and my charm and my good looks would basically, it's a way to connect for me. It's a way of networking. It's a way for me to see the hope, besides seeing, the country and seeing different cities, but to see what the other talent is in different areas. So that was kind of a strategy, and it's still a strategy that I'm doing today.
And actually, you're very well known for animation and character development, because that, if I'm correct, that's what you did as booth director for AVO back in the day.
I did, I auditioned everything as far as narration, promos, trailers, commercials. But I come from the world of animation, having an animation background and working on, primetime series such as The Simpsons and King of the Hill. And I worked with an actual team of artists and directors and producers, and doing a weekly animated series. It was, we were working on 9 or 10 shows each week. Each director had 3 different shows, and so as they finished one animated series, you didn't really have enough time. You just jumped right in and worked on your second show. And I was handling about 150 staff members and making sure that everyone get their designs in, make sure everything was on time, because we had to present the final show to the networks. So it's a whole 9-week process to get a show from the script to auditioning, or actually the recording session, to the designs. It's been so long. Then we had to get it all overseas. Overseas had to basically shoot it all on film. And then we had to get the animation stuff back here to the States, and then we edited everything from film and then get it on the air. And so back then we had about probably 30 to 35 shows per season. So we were constantly busy. And then once all of those shows, or I just decided to move on and do something different, I got into the voiceover casting part of the business. So I did that for about 15 years. So it was interesting from my animation production background to see how the voice talent, how it works now with the voice talent. So it was, dealing with a lot of agents, making sure the actors had the scripts, making sure the actors got paid, making sure the actors showed up at the recording sessions, covering for the actors. So I got to know tons of actors' personalities and their work. Back then, we called them dialogue directors or voice directors. So I got to work with at least 5 or 6 consistent voice directors and see their style. And so that was pretty interesting from that aspect, And then after all of that had took place, I went to work in a talent agency for 5 years and was basically just directing actors on their auditions because I knew how the whole process worked. I knew specifically what the casting directors wanted for specific shows, whoever was casting for different shows. I knew how to watch an actor transform into a character. And so once, it was new for me since I hadn't done it before, it was just something that came natural to me. It was a natural instinct for me to watch, one of the things that I like to do is travel a lot. So when I travel and I'm teaching animation, I like to engage with an actor in person and I could pull a performance out of them. That's one thing I'm really big on, especially when I was in the booth, was learning people's personalities, and I knew how they tick. And once I comprehended and I knew them as a person, I could pull a performance out of them.
Wow, that's really great. So you actually developed like a relationship with the actor and could really help them through the whole process, especially because you've seen it. You've come from the production process, the casting process, and then working with the talent. And so that really gives you a really great perspective and valuable perspective to help the voice artist really, I think, get the best performance out of their audition or their job.
Right, exactly. And I've learned a lot of information. That's one of the things also that I do is I provide a lot of information to get you from point A to point B. Because I feel like a lot of people, the actors, they want to focus on, I need the agent, or I want to go ahead and get that job. But you also got to learn the business aspect of the voiceover business. And a lot of people forget that. It also consists of networking. So I've networked a lot, from, knowing people from the production aspect, especially we used to do like for gifts. I would call one of the artists and say, hey, do me a favor, draw Bart, because I want to go ahead, I want to give a gift to, somebody. Or, the voice directors, they would know thousands and thousands of people. And I would say, hey, I have this client, her name is Anne. Here, I want to go ahead and I want to give you her CD, because back then we dealt with CDs, have a listen. So I networked through the system. I learned a lot, and so now in my business, I transcend all of that into my whole business. And, I love, dealing with actors and helping them get to where they need to get to, because it's not an easy career, but, once you go ahead and you learn the system, you can do great things. It's supposed to be fun. This is not supposed to be something like, studying, algebra or something like that, so.
Algebra's fun.
for certain people.
Okay, we're just going to ignore the dork and.
Thanks a lot. I that's such a compliment. Thank you, Gabby.
You're welcome. Anytime. Everett, what's your favorite kind of project to booth direct?
Animation. I loved, because everyone is a character. Animation, you really have to. What I do with my students is, and my clients, I tell them to pay attention to your surroundings. I tell you to pay attention to your family members, your in-laws, to get into that character. A lot of actors will go ahead and look at pictures, and I tell actors, you have to come up with your imagination. That's what's going to help you, book the job. So I love, animation, even though everybody wants to be, I want to be a cartoon character. We're all cartoon characters. It's just a matter.
That is such the truth, isn't it?
It is.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Create your own stuff, do something that, out of the ordinary to, help you book. So that's why I love animation. It's different. It's a different genre than the commercial or that narration or, even video games, because video games, it's a different, video games is really recently new for me, because it really technically started coming out in like 2009. 2010 is when video games really started. But animation has been around since I was in diapers, So, and I'm really blessed and I'm really fortunate enough that I've worked on two of the longest primetime animation series, if I'm not mistaken. So I did work on Simpsons for a year, and I worked on King of the Hill, and I understand that King of the Hill is returning. So I'm pretty proud of
No
that.
way.
Wow.
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
they said
That's
the King of the Hill.
great.
Yes.
You know, Everett, I have a question for you because this all I've worked with you before and I know you have such an amazing ear. And I think that the development of your ear, especially in these times where we self-direct a lot and I like to call upon you every once in a while to help me with an audition, but how is it that talent can help to develop their ear for what sounds appropriate for or what could be a great audition, or how can they help develop their ear in that sort?
You have to connect by your emotions, your tone, and your personality. That's it. Once you understanding who you are as a person, that's what help you develop that ear for you to connect to whatever you're reading so that performance will pop. I think, like I said before, everybody is so wrapped up in, I got to book this job. I got to book this job. Oh, this and that. Stop thinking about it. Just take a minute, take a beat. Who are you talking to? Self-directing, and self-directing is hard. I will say it's not for everybody. It's totally not for everybody. So like I said, I don't really get caught up so much in the technical aspects and stuff because that to me is just minor. I'm usually listening for is your acting. That's the first thing that I was taught. My agents would always say, are they acting? Are they real? Are they natural? And so in self-developing that listening to, you just need to just be you and it'll pop.
Everett, what would you say is the best piece of business advice that you could offer to our actors? Because what you just said is phenomenal performance advice and auditioning advice. What about your business prowess, if you will?
It's networking. It's all about relationships. I just recently taught in Los Angeles, and I have this little new technique now. I pull out my cell phone, and I say to them, how many people are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter? And they just look at me with a blank spot. They just look at me like, what? And I'm like, are you serious? And I'm slightly a little older than you, and I'm on it. And I can't tell you it's all about relationships. I won't say their names, that because I had a relationship with some agents, it just hit me. I got 2 clients of mine. I found them an agent just because of that relationship.
Yeah.
So I am constantly networking. I am constantly, I love traveling. I love to just go ahead and just grab people and shake them and tell them each individual and will say, you need to put yourself out there.
I see that from you too. I see that on your social media posts and profile. You're so vibrant and you're so vivacious all the time. And I think that that's the way, we have to be in this industry, and not enough people take advantage of that.
And he's always at the parties. Everett
Oh my
is always
gosh,
at the networking. The gatherings that, it's not just the conferences, it's the gatherings. And I really do. I agree with Gabby. I see you out there a lot, Everett. So I think that that's so important to kind of bring it back home to the relationship aspect in case people get too connected. I'm not, I love the internet and I love social media, but I also think face-to-face is so very important, as Everett pointed out. So I think that that's great that you're telling the listeners that as well. So it's a good affirmation for really helping to grow your business. Now, what's next for you, Everett? I mean, this has been about a year now. You've been on your own with myboothdirector.com, and you've got another tour coming up, you mentioned?
I have two tours in October coming up. So I'm hitting Chicago, and I'm hitting Washington, D.C., so I'm working my way back east again because everybody's like, when are you coming? When are you coming? Mm-hmm. I am coming to New York City. I have heard tons of people are saying to me, when are you coming to New York? So I just have to figure out that time of year. So that's where I'm aiming. And I want to hit the international market. That to me would be very interesting because it would be new for me because I have not been to Europe, but I have been to Australia, and I have dealt with the Australians as far as meetups and agents and stuff like that when I was down there in Australia. So it's been a few years. But I'm, like I said, I'm just a person of me love to connect with people. I think that's almost like I would say, Oprah would say, my purpose in life is to really just connect with people and get them from one place to another. Whether or not you book a job, whether or not you receive the information from me, it's all about, we're all here and we're all connected. And so for me and my business, that's where I'm at right now, is connecting.
I got to tell you, I think that's unbelievably progressive too, because for someone from the LA marketplace, we talk about it a lot. A lot of other folks talk about it as well. LA is a little bit of a bubble. It's got its microcosm thing going on. So does New York. So for you to be branching out and not only exploring talent in other locations, but getting your name out in other locations, I think it's not only brilliant, it's very indicative of the times that we're in and the technology that is afforded to our industry right now.
And I, for one, would like to volunteer if you need any assistance on your international travels. I have lots of places I would love to go and to network. And actually, I totally agree with Gabby there. I think that the whole travel international is brilliant. I think that for you to be able to go and see how voice talent interact and get work and what their process is in other countries is phenomenal. And I think it just really says a lot to your business vision and fortitude. So congrats about that, Everett. Congrats that your business is doing well. Let's I'd like to let our listeners know how they can get in touch with you.
They can reach me at myboothdirector.com, or they can find me on Twitter at myboothdirector.com. They can find me on Instagram at eaotunevoice.com. I think that's about it. LinkedIn.
Great.
I get a lot of people on LinkedIn. They can find me as Everett Oliver on LinkedIn. They should put in the subject line, the name of Anne and Gabby. So that way I know who they are.
B.O.S.S.
That's easier for me to.
They
Exactly.
are B.O.S.s. Great.
Thank you so much. This was great. I had a great time.
I'd also like to thank our sponsor, IPDTL. If you have been listening and you are enjoying this lovely connection, it is a 3-way IPDTL connection. You too can record like a boss. You can find out more at ipdtl.com.
From all of us at the V.O.S.S podcast, have a great week. Stay focused and rock your business like a boss.
A V.O.S.S. And you guys can go ahead and like us on Facebook at V.O.S.S podcast and on Twitter at VO_boss.
You can also subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, or Stitcher. And make sure to visit our website, voboss.com, where you can find exclusive content and offers.
We love you guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Join us next week for another edition of V.O.S.S with your hosts, Anne Ganguzza and Gabby Nisterko. All rights reserved. Anne Ganguzza voice talent in association with 3 Moon Media. Redistribution with permission. Coast-to-coast connectivity via IPDTL.